the Houston Texans. 2 first-round picks. They're picking 3 and 13 in the first round. Traps, when you look at this team, what do they need? There's a lot of needs. But what are their biggest needs, and who could they target with those 2 first-round picks, and then maybe as well in the second round?
Similar team to the Jaguars, in my opinion. There's really not a spot that I would be surprised or complain about them going with, especially with those first 2-round picks. The general consensus is that they should go edge rusher, like they should go Trayvon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau. Jonathan Grenard played well last season, and he was someone coming out of Florida a few years ago that I liked a lot, has the athleticism to be a good outside pass rusher. Just feels like because Thibodeau and Walker and Hutchinson have kind of been elevated toward the top of this kind of weaker draft, that's the direction they'll go in at 3. If they went Ahmad Gardner, I wouldn't hate that. Even if they went Kyle Hamilton at 3 or 13, I think that would be, smart for them. Cornerback is definitely a need. If they trade Brandon Cooks, then wide receiver, even with Nico Collins there, certainly becomes a pretty big need for Davis Mills. And then along the offensive line, that they have Laramie Tunsil. They said they're not going to trade him. But if someone like Charles Cross falls to 13, I think they would be foolish to not select them because that's such a valuable position. So another AFC South team, certainly rebuilding. It doesn't feel like they'll go quarterback, that they'll just give Davis Mills this year to maybe show that he can be a decent starter. I don't think they have a long-term view with him. So they'll probably shy away from this quarterback class and kind of circle back on it next year. But they just have to build out this roster with, again, another team that might be a little more self-aware than the Jaguars, but really the smartest thing for them to do is just build their big board without looking at positions and just go best player available at 3, at 13, and what they do with all those second round and third round picks.
Yeah, so Traps, I'll put you on the spot for a second because I was asked this in an interview recently and I was not prepared for it. And it was simply, who is a team in the first round that maybe gives you difficulty doing a mock draft? Who is the most difficult to predict in the first round? Because when I came to my answer, it was a little different than maybe what most people would have expected.
I think the Texans would be up there. The Lions at 2. I have no idea what direction they're going to go in, especially because offensive tackle would make a lot of sense for them, but I doubt they go offensive tackle in back-to-back drafts. But the Texans with those 2 picks, it's like the Jets and the Giants, we kind of know what they want to do, and it aligns with the strength of this class. The Texans, with just how strangely run that organization is, I have no clue what they're going to do. And again, they have so many needs. It will be hard for the Texans to come out of this first round looking really bad, because I think at 3 and 13 to have 2 picks in the top 15 and so many needs, unless they just go with a complete off the radar prospect with one of those 2 selections, there will technically be filling needs because the roster is still so bad.
Yeah, the Texans were my pick because they could go in any number of directions. I mean, you already laid out the options. They could conceivably go Derek Stingley. They could go Kyle Hamilton. They could go Sauce Gardner. They could go Jermaine Johnson, Jordan Davis, one of those wide receivers. I mean, there's endless options. And then what they do there is going to impact the rest of this first round. So they have been one of the more interesting teams to me. But this jumps out as a team that is more self-aware than some of the other teams that we have discussed. And for that reason, I think you kind of have to lean on best player available, who they're going to take in the first round. I mean, you might be able to look at what New England has historically, appreciated in the past, and maybe that'll inform your decision on what Houston may do in the first round. But I think they have a number of needs and could go in a number of directions.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Texans stink. Like they're one of the worst rosters in football. I mean, there is no, and they just traded Deshaun Watson. They are loaded with draft capital. There is no reason for them to do anything. Like, I feel like, I don't like the Texans. I mean, I like the Texans. I like the Texans. I don't really like the front office for the Texans. I can go either way on Nick Caserio right now. Like, he's still TBD. Jack Easterby, obviously, like a serial killer masquerading as a priest, masquerading as a, like vice president of football operations, who just happens to like trick billionaires into giving him positions of power, even though he has no football training. At any rate, like Lovie Smith, whatever, my point being is that at least I might not like the Texans, but at least they're self-aware. They traded Deshaun Watson. They didn't play Deshaun Watson. They got 3 first-round picks for him. They know they stink. They know they kind of like Davis Mills. They want to give him a shot. And I think they're just going to they're like, this is a perfect draft to be the Texans. There's good players who you can add to your roster to eventually get yourself in a position where maybe you could be a contender if you hit on that quarterback position. And I don't think they'll panic and try to draft another guy this year. Like, I don't like give Davis Mills a year. If he flashes and he might be the guy, and all of a sudden you've added a ton of talent around him. So a credit to the Texans for not trying to force the issue, I guess. And I think that's important because we just talked about it with the Jaguars. The Tennessee Titans picking 26th in the first round. They are it's just a fascinating dichotomy here with this division because you have like the Titans and the Colts who are like flawed contenders and then just stink bombs in the Jaguars and the Texans.